you pray with me? O Lord God of liberty and liberation, we acknowledge you as the giver of every good and perfect gift. We bless your name and declare that you are worthy to be praised. God, as we gather tonight, we pause to remember and to reflect on our common past and to join together in creating a more blessed future. We come tonight with a spirit of expectation. We expect great things for the people of Wichita. We expect all of our elected officials to work for the common good of everyone, including the least, the last, and the lost. We expect our leaders to be led by your wisdom, to search your will and to see it clearly. We expect our leaders to remember those who are living in the midst of violence, those living in poverty, and those who live without hope in our very midst. After all, your word declares to us that we should seek the welfare of the city. Empower us to act tonight in ways that provide strength for the weak, justice for the oppressed, and equal opportunity for people of all ages, nations, and races. Bless this meeting tonight. Remind us that we are vessels of hope and that you desire to use us to make whole our bruised world. God, we pray your blessings will rain down upon us tonight. We decree and declare that no weapon formed against us shall prosper, that every effort to transform our communities into well springs of hope shall indeed become a living reality. Respecting persons of all faiths, I humbly submit this prayer in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Good evening. Again, I want to thank you for your presence tonight. Your presence is important, and I've shared this with folk who have been doing protests and marches, that it is important for us to come together because change does not happen without you. Dr. King put it this way. He said, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concerns of dedicated individuals. So thank you for your passion. Thank you for your dedication for the cause of improving the relationship between law enforcement and the people of our community. Our purpose tonight, and before I go into our purpose tonight, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the elected officials who are here tonight. I want to invite all of our elected officials to please stand so that we can acknowledge your presence. Thank you so very much. Our purpose tonight is twofold. Number one, we want to give you an update, progress report on what has happened since the August meeting at East High School. And then number two, we want to provide an opportunity for your voice to be heard concerning the selection of a new police chief for the city of Wichita. That will happen in smaller groups, and we'll be led by representatives from WSU. And at the end of our brief Q&A tonight, Misty Bruckner will come up and she will give us instructions for moving into the smaller groups. That's going to be a very important and significant part of what we do tonight as we continue to focus on forward progress and as we continue to focus on what is before us together as a whole community. Now I'm going to invite Dr. Kevis Harding. He's going to share some significant milestones since our August meeting.
If you have your agenda before you, I'll be dealing with the significant milestones since the August meeting, and particularly how we got to the 4 areas of focus that you will hear from our police chief, and then you will also hear from the city mayor along with our city manager, and we'll get out the way to sit here and listen as you, and after that we'll have Q&A. How do we get here? In the month of August, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was one of the first of many people with a group of men, and we walked into our rooms and we seen the CNN news that there had been a shooting in Ferguson. As we sat and talked, we began to dialogue, what would we do, what can we do? And I explained that the first thing I want to do, and when I get back to my home city, is to gather our community together and have a community dialogue between community and the police department. And I was blessed to have our city mayor come to my office along with the city manager, the police chief, interim police chief, along with city councilman Levante Williams and Pastor Dotson, and we sat in my sanctuary and we gathered together with many other people, community leaders as our NAACP leader, along with Sunflower Community Action leader. We all came together and began to dialogue and discuss with other pastors, how can we bring our communities together? And I share this because I missed the piece about what happened in our own city in July, because I was out of town most of July and discovered that we had one of our own beloved brothers in the same situation. And so it was detrimental to me that we definitely have this dialogue and community piece. And so you coming to us when we came together, August the 28th of this year at East High School, we wanted to hear, me, you, everyone, the community, to hear from you and to discuss with you what are the main issues that you see from our community. We had numerous of you who I see in this community right now come to the mics as we have them here today, and you spoke your opinions and you shared with us what you want. We had our reporter secretary who was taking notes, and you all handed out cards because we could not take all of the questions in that 2 hours. Out of that, what you now hear, we reported back, is the 4 areas that we discovered was the common theme from our community. And that first thing that we heard the most was body cameras. And we'll allow the chief to give an update on that. So that was our first thing that we received from you as a community, us hearing from you. And the second piece that we heard was the Crisis Intervention Team, the CIT. And we heard that theme constantly coming back, that we want our officers to be trained in that area where we have crisis intervention teams where they're trained, all police officers. So that was the common theme. The third thing that we heard from us was the community policing and how we did not want that to go away. We wanted it to be improved and continue to use it for our community. And so that was the thing that we heard. And then we also heard the independent review board. And that was the piece that we want, an independent review board with subpoena power. And we'll allow the city manager and the chief to speak about those. So that's how we got here, because of you. And I thank you for your commitment to make our city a better place to live, because I'm born and raised here. This is where I was raised, 1533 North Piatt. That's where I was raised. Bus to Southeast High School. So I know this city. I was a police officer for the city. And I love these people, and I love you, and I see your face, and I know you personally. You know me. And so it's important that we continue this dialogue with our community, because it is our community. And so with that, I'm going to now hand it over to our interim chief. Chief Mosley will now give us the update and the progress that we will continue to do as a city and community. Chief Mosley.
Thank you, Pastor. I'll give the update report as he outlined as well. There were the 4 areas that I'll touch on tonight. The first, we've also provided updates through the media as far as cameras and different things, progress reports along the way as to where we are. First, I'm going to cover the technology as far as the body cameras. Now, the city of Wichita has committed that we'll have body cameras on all patrol officers, and that will occur by 2015. Now, Wichita will also be one of the first cities of its size to have cameras on all of its patrol officers. We expect to purchase 444 cameras in addition to the 60 that we currently have. Now, on the research end, before we roll this out and get into the having the cameras and ordering, and you have to keep in mind, we'll compete with a number of departments throughout the country that are trying to do the same thing that Wichita, Kansas is doing. But what we've done is we're currently reaching out to Fort Worth, Texas, because we want to see firsthand a department that has implemented or is in the progress of implementing body-worn cameras. Other agencies that we're also exploring are Albuquerque, New Mexico, and San Diego, California. Now, all the way throughout this, we had mentioned that cameras aren't cheap, especially the ones we're trying to get, the Axon body cameras. The initial capital outlay that I covered before was it's going to take about $927,000 to get the initial outlay for the, or initial purchase for the 444 cameras. On top of that, you have 74 docking stations to download your information, and then also IT and connectivity issues that we have to address along the way. Internally, what we looked at were funding options of grants that we can seek, narc seizure funds, CIP, and general fund as well. But just as important are the ongoing costs. Right now, I think if you heard my last release, we're looking to ground the air section in the year 2015. Also, during that time, we'll explore budget money, any other availability. I think you also saw President Obama announce that he's exploring funding. And obviously, if that funding comes through, we'll want to seek that money as well. What President Obama proposed was about $263 million in funding cameras, but what we have to keep in mind, that still has to be approved by Congress, presented and approved. But here in Wichita, what we want to do is continue with our obligation to have cameras on our officers, and we can't stop and wait for the federal funding. Now, our plan is to monitor any federal funding. If it does come through, we're going to keep our ears to the ground and make sure we're a recipient if we can meet the requirements. But again, our projected implementation to stay on course is 2015. And what we covered before is 4 phases in which we're trying to do this. Phase 1 is research and planning with a target date of February of 15. Purchasing in June 30th of 14. And again, keep in mind, we're competing nationwide. Everyone's trying to get cameras at this time. Also, we have to do is train our officers and then prepare. You have to order the equipment, bring it in, inventory it, catalog it, and be prepared to use it. So, and then phase 4, as I said before, the complete deployment by December of 15. Now, again, like I've said, there's still a lot of moving parts to this, but we've committed to proceed with the purchasing of these cameras. Some of the other things that we need to consider are policy development, making sure the camera's on when it's supposed to be on, IT needs. I've already covered ordering, receiving, cataloging, and inventorying the equipment. And also, we have to hire and train new clerks for those cameras because we have currently 60 cameras. Now, to do it department-wide, we have to have a couple of clerks to make sure that the requests come in, that they can handle the request on, we want to see the footage. Now, some of the benefits that we've already talked about were transparency. We all want to be transparent. And improved behavior outcomes of reduced work comp and public liability claims. Also, we anticipate, as others have done that, there has been a reduction in use of force incidents as well as a reduction in citizen complaints. Now, again, the timeline is based on favorable circumstances. We're competing nationwide, and right now we're proceeding, even though President Obama has put on the table money that has to be, again, go to Congress, but we're proceeding with the Wichita plan and what's best for our community right now. The next area I'm going to cover is crisis intervention training. Now, first and foremost, we'd like to say that we feel that this is very important for our police department. Wichita Police Department currently has 89 CIT officers. In June of 2015, there's one class that is conducted annually by the Sedgwick County CIT Council. We usually get 10 to 12 slots, but we have been approved to get 20 slots in this class. So that will increase our numbers next year. Department-wide, we've also explored a course called Mental Health First Aid Instructor. Now, this course is an instructor certification course, or a train-the-trainer course, which we're sending 4 Wichita Police Department members. These 4 officers will attend a 5-day training course at the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center. After they have completed the training, they are to come back and provide an 8-hour basic course for all members of the Wichita Police Department in 2015. This class will begin on January 5th and through January 9th, and we've committed to send our members to that. And in 2015, we want to have all of our members trained in this course. Now, since 2012, also, I just want to add that our recruit class, our recruit members, have continually received 4 hours of this training, as well as other communication training and awareness training. So we're proceeding and trying to get as many training courses as we can. We'll work with the Sedgwick County CIT Council as well to see if we can get additional courses as well, or additional classes to be offered. The next topic is community policing. And as I stated before, we want to renew our efforts and refocus our efforts in the area of community policing as a department. How this looks, or how it will look, will depend on the organizational assessment. Now, one example currently that we have going with our community policing is our HOT team, which is the homeless outreach team, who work with the homeless population and address any of their needs or issues that may arise. As far as community policing, we want community policing to touch every aspect of our operation and also our interaction with the public. The success of community policing, as we all know, I've said in the last meeting, depends on the police and the citizens working together, our community coming together, working on projects or situations. Without either party, it's not going to be successful. It can't be just the police department. It has to be all of us, as I've stated before. Now, ultimately, our thoughts would be that all officers should be CP trained. You have an officer arrive, they should be CP trained. Now, CP is done several different ways throughout this country. It's performed differently. Now, what we have to do and get through in this organizational assessment is, what does that look like for Wichita, Kansas? So, again, a lot is going into the organizational assessment, and we've surveyed internal as well as external partners in looking at community policing. As far as the independent review board, that also is currently being looked at through the organizational assessment. And as was stated by Pastor earlier, that you'll have an opportunity to add input later in the second hour of this meeting. With your input and research that's being conducted, alternatives are being looked at, alternatives to the current review board in place now. Now, during the last meeting, I know there are mistrust issues and demands for transparency that I've heard. I took notes the first meeting, and we're listening. Ultimately, what I heard is also we want a system that is fair to everyone, to citizens, to our officers. And that's what we'll strive to get. Now, in that first meeting, we also obviously have to work through employee or union issues in releasing information on employees. But that's been done on other boards throughout the country. Suggestions like redacting names and using a numbering system. There's plenty of options out there. But right now, on the table is all is being explored on the independent review board. As far as the organizational assessment, I keep referring back to that. You know, the city manager had mentioned that when a police chief retires, that it's an opportunity to evaluate the department, where it's been, where it has been, where it needs to go. It's been also called a roadmap for the next police chief and this organization. Now, again, there's a number of things being looked at, and that report, I believe, is still on target for completion by the end of this year. There's a review of policies and procedures going on, our organizational structure, safety and training, community policing, technology, among a lot of other topics. I've participated in some of these meetings. And again, as I want to close on that topic, the expected completion date is December 31st of 2014. Now, some of the responsibility is of the community. And what I've laid out on the 4 topics are, it's not just the police department, it has to be all of us together. We have to have ongoing talks that include the community and the community's part. There has to be accountability for both police and our community. Because again, I keep harping on this, we can't do it alone. There's a lot of progress we've done and will continue to do. I've attended a number of meetings as well and received input from various community members on topics and ways to improve this department. But it takes us all. There's mentorship opportunities, investing in our youth, and again, I recognize that trust and respect have to be built on both sides. Now looking forward, again, this is a status report for our citizens, for you, to address concerns and issues from the August 28th meeting. We're not done. Again, this report, this organizational assessment is due by the end of this year. We want to continue to have open and honest dialogue. I've been in the community attending numerous meetings. I'll continue to do so. As I've said before, this is about enhancing our relationship. And it takes us all, not just the police department. A few other things that we're looking in that I want to note before I leave that were outside of the 4 main topics. Fair and impartial policing training for the Wichita Police Department in 2015. We're right now reviewing and looking into this. I took a course at KLETC with Dr. Lori Friedel, and I think the pastors were there as well. She did an excellent job. What we're wanting to do is bring her here in 2015 and provide training for all members of the Wichita Police Department. I've also been in talks with Sheriff Jeff Easter and also talking about what that would look like to bring that for both agencies and doing more partnerships in training in other areas. So right now in 2015, there's a couple of packages she offers. She can come talk herself. We can do a train-the-trainer, as I mentioned before. So we're exploring those things, but we're committed to bring this training to our members in 2015. We've also visited the Wichita Police Department and the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, visited Johnson County, where they hold an annual forum with the community, talking about police-community relations. I learned about that as well at KLETC, the training I attended. We took a look, and this was their 9th annual training. Now what we're thinking, or what we're looking at, is what would that look like bringing it here to Wichita, Kansas? We're exploring all options there as well, and having another forum or another open area that we can converse and have dialogue. Now again, as I've mentioned, I've attended a number of community meetings, and it's been mentioned that our members want to also come in and talk with our recruit classes. I'm going to visit with our training bureau commander, Captain Allred, to discuss that as well. They want community, I've been told, community leaders coming in to talk, citizens coming in to talk into our recruits, and just talk about the general issues going on in our community and the issues going on nationwide. We've also had requests from that first meeting for the Wichita Police Department to hold training sessions, sort of like expectations. What does the Wichita Police Department, what does a police officer expect in this situation? We are exploring that as well and putting on a number of training sessions in that category as well. I think it's important to keep that interaction going. Now, as far as the officer-involved shootings and incidents, we're striving to improve our transparency. Again, what we want to do is have contact with the family members. I've talked to staff and explored what does that look like. Now again, there's a lot of moving parts to everything I'm telling you, and we've got work to do. We'll still continue to explore that. How do we increase communication with our family members that have been impacted by these unfortunate incidents? We've also have a consultant looking at our use of force policies and exploring ways to better, or is any better ways to have our policy look for our community. So, in saying all this, I'm going to wrap it up right now, and I'll leave it to the mayor and Mr. Manager. There's work still to be done. As been brought up in our first meeting, it does us no good to have that meeting and we all go about our different ways. We still need to talk and have that open dialogue. We're open to it. In fact, you're going to have, as I said before, another opportunity to participate in our assessment of this department. So I encourage you all to stay and participate in this venue. I just want to thank you for having me here today. And again, this is just a status report. This is an ongoing report. We've got a lot of work to do, and we'll continue our work in building our relationships. Thank you.
We'll now have the mayor speak, and then after the mayor, we'll then have the city manager speak, and then after that, it's your turn to come and ask questions and get answers, and we'll continue, and then we'll break out into small groups. For now, hear from our mayor.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for coming out tonight and being part of this engagement process. I see some new faces that were not with us when we were at East High School, and so I appreciate you taking the time to come out. At the end of the day, this is going to be something that's going to enhance not only our community but around the entire state, because others will be looking at us to see how are we addressing the issues that we have before us. Many cities and communities don't have any idea. So this is a learning experience for all of us. I think the chief did a very good job of explaining what our next steps are, but he was definitely correct. You know, this is just the very beginning. Next steps are implementation, but one of the things we must do is we must have continuous conversation and dialogue with each other, and we must have open and honest discussion with each other, and everyone giving their input. I do know for a fact that the City Council has made a decision here just recently that they will be meeting with various different leaders, and it'll be done on a regular basis so that we can get a feel as to what's going on or what's being said in the community or inside the churches as to how we can improve or what issues or concerns that may be out there. Not just limited to just shootings or reactions or things that are happening with police, but also our quality of life. What's important to each and every citizen here in the community. So we've made that commitment that we are going to do that. And it's going to be more than just a couple of council members. As you can see, I have numerous council members that are here and present today because they're concerned and they want to hear what citizens have to say. And it not only affects just one community and not just the inner core of the city, but it also affects the outlying areas of our community. So the council is committed to being able to support and to do whatever is necessary to address the issues that come before the citizens, but secondly, what we can do to be able to make sure that you understand that you have a voice in this community, and we want to be there to be able to listen to your community. This time I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As all the previous participants have indicated, this is meant to be a dialogue, so I'm going to keep my comments very brief. I wanted to simply echo what the Chief has reported in terms of the work that we've done to date. I hope that you believe that it's an authentic effort to listen to what you told us, not just at East High, but since that time. And we're anxious to hear from you regarding our progress and whether we're on target as we move forward. We're also really anxious for you to have input into the organizational assessment before it's completed. And that's why we have provided this opportunity. We have talked to a number of groups so far in the community, but recognize that many of you would not have been touched by membership of one of those groups. And that's why we really hope that you'll stay around and give us an hour of your time after we go through the question and answer period now, so that we can get your thoughts about the department itself and about the job description for the new police chief that we'll start to look for after the first of the year. With that, I think we're ready to open it up to questions and comments from the community. If you'd like, we have microphones at least 2 locations, one here and one over here. And if you want to just come up and get in line for your comments, that would be wonderful.
And also because we're trying to be courteous of your time, we like to hold your remarks to your question, I should say, 2 minutes, so that we can respond back. Because we want to be honest with our time and have you also in those times of groups to hear more from you. So please be courteous of the time.
Testing. Good evening. My name is Gail Finney, and I'm the state representative for the 84th District. I want to commend you on doing this. I mean, it really takes a load off of me because being up there in the state legislature, this is one of the issues that myself and my colleagues would bring up all the time. And so that's why it's very passionate for me also. But one thing I want to make sure that you do include that I haven't heard you mention is that we need to include more diversity in our police force. There's over 11% of African Americans here, and there's 13% Hispanics. I would like for you to have that reflected in your police force, well, our police force. It should be reflective of our community. So I ask that of you, and I beg that of you, and I really want to commend you because I am just so proud of Wichita for doing this and taking the lead. You owe yourself a round of applause. I want to thank you personally. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Senator Faust-Goudot. I, too, want to commend...
Hold on 1 second.
Senator, if you could just give me 1 second. I'd like the chief just to talk about the diversity and hiring issue because we are very conscious of that issue and work that we're doing to try to be more representative of the community in our hiring practices.
Well, that's a very good point because we do want to mirror our community. I mean, first and foremost, you're right. We have to look like the community with police. We've been recruiting. In fact, we're starting a brand new recruit class coming up here in January. Now, what we want, and at the last meeting that I put out was, we need your help. You know, we need you to also have members. If you know people that want to be police officers, come have them take a look at the Wichita Police Department. We have an active recruiting campaign right now that's ongoing. Our next class is slated to begin in July, I believe, right? And we're now trying to fill that class, but we're going to have a class starting in January that's coming up soon. So we hear you. We've been at active Atwater and some other locations on recruiting, and we'll continue to be out there. We have to mirror our community.
Senator, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I, too, concur with Representative Gail Finney, and I want to thank and commend each of you for being in the right place at the right time to move this issue forward with body cameras. I know for many years other individuals have advocated for this, and so I'm thankful and grateful that we are moving forward. My question is for the acting police chief. You said that the money that President Obama has spoke about would take an act of Congress. But I commend you for saying that here in Wichita, Kansas, we're going to move forward, but still there is the money concern. I think I heard you say, and will you still use monies that are garnished by siege and forfeiture in your department? Thank you.
Yes, in fact, that's the funding that has been identified. But on the money, the federal money as well, we're keeping in tune too. I think, as one of my staff said, we're keeping our receipts as well. So,
As you're in line, make sure we go back and forth. So it's your turn, ma'am.
Hello. I just kind of took some notes while you guys were talking. A couple of things are just kind of want you to take note of. And kind of a question.
Can you state your name first?
Ida Allen. I'm a family member of someone that was slain by an officer. Our cars ran off. One of my questions and things I would like you to kind of take note of is about non-lethal weapons. I'm not sure if officers are automatically armed with non-lethal or if that only comes into play during certain scenarios and certain officers like SWAT. And if not, why aren't they and can they be? My next question, you mentioned about 4 officers going into training and they would become instructors, and at that point they'd be training some other officers. I was kind of curious as to how you chose those 4 officers, and do they have an extensive background? Because we know 8 hours is not a long time, and 4 days doesn't really get you in depth, so unless you kind of have a background to bring to it, to really make those 8 hours count, you know what I mean? So I was kind of wondering how you chose that, and I was wondering how do you go about applying to get on your review board?
I didn't hear the last.
I want to be on the review board.
I didn't.
There you
Process
go.
for getting on the review.
There you
Kind of
go.
faded away. We're always exploring new technology, and you mentioned non-lethal weapons, and I've got to back off this, or somebody. But we're exploring bean bags, tasers we have, batons, and other technology out there. So we're continually always looking to improve our technology or anything that we have. We're starting to get them right now and exploring that. And how we chose the officers, it was up to the bureau commanders. Now, what you have to also, I understand you bring a background as well, but they're attending a 5-day class to present the 1-day class. It's pretty in-depth where they have to test. They have to take a test and pass it as well. So it's a 5-day class for them to come back and give a 1-day for all of our members.
I appreciate that. That's good. But I'm just saying, in the bigger scheme of things, mental health is like really 5 days is not a lot. So that's all I was saying. If you have somebody with a background to bring to that, then it helps.
Remember, this is supplemental. We still will work for certification of officers, but this is allow us to get in front of the officers before they're certified.
This is extra.
Yeah.
The last question was about the process for getting on the review board.
We're still working on that. We've identified a number of models from around the country, and first we're going to determine what model seems to fit Wichita best, and then after that we'll come up with criteria for selection. Thank you.
Sir.
My name is Doug Ballard. I'm with Occupy Wichita, and we have been working on this issue, as some of you I think know, since Karen Jackson was killed in July of 12. So we've been working on this, not just on local stuff. We've gone to other cities, and we think that it's I think it's a cultural problem. It's not a Wichita problem. It's not a Ferguson problem. It's not a New York City problem. It's a cultural problem, and it is very complicated, as we found out. One of my concerns is that when there's an officer, a WPD officer, kills a Wichita citizen for whatever reason, I'm concerned with the process. I know we recently saw on the Eric Garner and Michael Brown, they had a grand jury investigation to possibly indict the officer. Well,
40 seconds.
a good prosecutor
seconds,
can prosecute a ham sandwich.
We need your question,
And
sir.
I'm getting to it.
40
But
seconds.
you need a little background before I ask it. In 2010, there was 160,000 grand jury investigations in the United States, and only 11 of them did not end in an indictment. So what is the chances of our DA conducting any kind of a grand jury investigation and indicting any of our officers? Because we've just had 2 that did not end in an indictment. That's not a trial. That just means it's going to go to trial. So is there anything you think we could do, maybe get somebody that doesn't live here to perform those every time an incident like this happens?
Thank you.
I don't know that any of us can speak for the district attorney. I do know that he is in ongoing discussions with community members regarding the review process by his office and decision making, and I believe he's open to continued reforms and improvements in terms of the process, and he's very committed to transparency, and I think any time that you spend with him, you'll learn that. I do understand your concern. Yes, thank you.
Can I respond to that also by sharing that our DA did meet with us at the Ministerial League at our last meeting, actually, talks very specifically about those 2 issues. We shared with our district attorney those 2 concerns that you just lifted up, and so he is aware of that concern from the community. So thank you for your question.
Randy Mathis. Concerning body cameras, I'm wondering what kind of policies are being put in place so that when there are instances, what is going to be done? And are the police going to know ahead of time? And are we going to know ahead of time so that when the day comes, a police officer doesn't just get to say, I was so afraid.
Thank you.
Well, throughout the country there are, and we've been doing our research, there's a number of policies based on the jurisdiction out there. But what we'll do before we roll out any policy is, one piece that I've included that we've talked about before is first training our officers on the policy and keeping to the policy. But the second piece is to roll that out to the public as well. The expectations are what we're wanting from our officers as far as our policy. There has to be a training piece, and our officers have to know, and they have to abide by policy. But right now, there's no set policy out there. The policies range from various restrictions to how open they are with the cameras. But we're going to run it by a number of sources and look at everything before we roll out a policy. That's why I laid out before. There's a number of moving parts still to be done before we get to the policy as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Wynn, and we talk about being open and honest with each other during discussions. So the first question I have is, Kansas Open Records Act requests were filed on the Brady Giglio officers, and to date, we haven't received the names of those officers, and I'm curious as to why. What policy and procedure prevents you from telling the public, the taxpayers who actually pay those employees, not give us the transparent answer of what officers are on that list, why, and the pending cases that I know that they're currently testifying in without disclosing that to defense counsel?
Well, right now we're looking at the Brady Giglio, and I think there has been some release. Now, you mentioned names or things of that nature. Just like I said on other issues, they're personal and union matters that we also have to attend with. But we are also looking, it comes to the DA as far as disclosure. And when these officers, or if they are asked to testify, this is disclosed to the district attorney's office. So for you to say that that is part of the process and evaluated on whether or not that officer's testimony is used in court.
Isn't that, though, correct only if the police department or the detective that's handling that particular case is aware of that officer's placement on the Brady Giglio list?
You mean for the district attorney?
No, the police department is responsible for giving it to the DA.
And we do that.
And I've heard the excuse, we didn't know. So if that detective that's turning over exculpatory evidence to the district attorney doesn't know that they're on the Brady Giglio list, then how is that going to be given to some, you know what I mean?
I'm unaware of any, I don't know, but if you have specifics, let me know. But
I do.
Right now, if we all know and the district attorney knows, so if that case goes before the DA, that information is included in the case as well.
And is there a particular policy or procedure that it's violating it, or is it just the unions that don't allow for the public to be told who's on that list?
No, we have employee issues as well, but again, we are working with the union on this matter as well, and we do have a policy in place.
Thank you. I do want to say, I see a number of people who are lined up. I do want to remind you that if your question has already been answered, if you would take note of that. And also, please be respectful of the time and know that when we break into smaller groups, you will have opportunities. This is what the organizational assessment is all about. So you will have opportunities to share, what your thoughts are about the police department, its strengths, its weaknesses, and where we're going. So thank you so very much. Please be respectful of that time.
I thank you guys for being here. This is just the fact that this is happening is progress. What I'm curious about, when I was a substitute teacher, I got canned some of the reasons I got canned were that I appeared disoriented in a building that I had never been in before. I did not leave a particular teacher's classroom in satisfactory condition, and I did not leave such good notes for a teacher. Now, if I get canned for this, how come we got cops tasing people when they're down, and they're not getting canned?
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
What's your
And what is your name, sir?
Your name, sir. State your name.
Russ Pataki, Occupy Wichita.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my concern is really that there are, most of the cops on the force are good people who I can easily respect. But we got some bullies and sadists. They're still there. They have to go. Thank you.
My name is Carl Watson. I'm a student at Friends University, and my question is actually mostly to the audience, I guess. How many people here are under the age of 25? So 3, 4? I think, I like this guy right here, yes. I think one of the biggest issues that is going unaddressed here is that the people who are addressing the issues of police brutality, of corruption in our government, are those that are young, that are my age. I'm 23. I graduate in May. I'm a licensed financial advisor. I'm not trying to stir up trouble. I respect our police. My problem is that we do have these issues that go unaddressed as far as police brutality, as far as people, cronyism in our government. I see these things, and as a 23-year-old, I have problems addressing them. Because what do we do at my age besides walk out in the streets and protest? And I don't agree with all the protesters that are out there. I don't agree with people who go out and call cops pigs. I think that our police officers do try and do their best to make sure that we are safe as citizens. But at the same time, I don't know how to respond to these situations where cops go unanswerable. They go without justice when people don't have the right to call them to court. And I don't want to be applauded for that. I don't think that's a justifiable thing to say. I think it's just important that we as a city, that you as our leaders, that we all together, you aren't above us, we aren't below, no one goes like that we are all citizens of Wichita. How do we address that? I mean, because I don't know, and I know you guys are struggling with it as well, and I respect that, and I know that you guys are elected citizens, that you are just trying to do what we ask of you. And so I understand that it is a difficult proposition. And I just want to know, from my perspective, to be right there with you, what do you think? I mean, because I don't know, and we don't know. I mean, that's why we're here. We don't know. What do we do?
Okay, thank you, sir.
What do you say?
One thing I will say is, as part of the organizational assessment, what we're looking at is there's been a lot of attention paid to a citizen review board, but we haven't talked about a citizen advisory board that can provide, can actually have that conversation on an ongoing basis with the police chief and his or her staff and provide that kind of meaningful input. And that may be one of the recommendations that comes out of the assessment, is that we have some vehicle for that ongoing broad-based community discussion, not just in a room like this, but on a more frequent basis. So thank you for your comment.
In that regard,
we need to move to the next. Thank you so much. You'll have opportunity to share in your smaller group. Thank you. Sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn this around because I want to address the audience, not the panel. Folks, we owe a deep debt of gratitude and heartfelt thanks to all our police officers, not only in this country, not only in this city, but all over our great country. And it's a tough job that our police officers have to do. They're not a firing squad. They're not an executioner. They have a job to do, and it's a tough job. Not just anybody can do that job. I wouldn't do it. Would you do it? Now, when a police officer kills somebody, he doesn't do it because he enjoys doing it. He doesn't want to kill that person. After he takes a human life, he goes home and he probably doesn't sleep at night. He probably has to have counseling. And this is a tough job. They don't want to do it. I mean, they want to do it, but they don't.
What's the question?
They want to do it, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to kill
What's the question,
nobody.
sir?
They don't like to kill.
Sir, we need to know your question.
I recently wrote a poem.
Sir, we need your question.
In honor of our policemen, our firemen, and our servicemen.
Okay, we're gonna thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna move on.
No, sir. Thank you.
You will have opportunity to share. You'll have an opportunity. You'll have an opportunity to share in your smaller group. Next microphone, please. Thank you.
Next microphone.
Sir.
Next microphone. Next microphone.
Hi, everybody. My name's Miko. I'm from Daly Hayes. This is my hometown. I've been in Ferguson on and off for the last 3 months. And honestly, you guys are borderline of becoming that city next at any point. I hope everybody enjoyed my antlers. I actually wore these today because I think these meetings are a total joke. This is completely ridiculous that for the last hour we've listened to Mr. Mosley, Mr. Brewer, and I missed the first part. I'm sure everybody else said the same dribble, that this is about listening to the community and everything, yet you guys are shutting off people. We have 15 minutes to ask you questions, which most of you dodge the questions anyways. I remember at the last meeting, Mr. Brewer, you were asked why we haven't had an indictment in Wichita, and you dodged that question. There was no word from your mouth on any police officer. So how much do you guys really care about what we have to say? We're limited to seconds. We're kicked off the mics. Carl just had his mic shut off. What do you guys want us to do?
Can I answer that question? Sir, a part of what you're saying is your words was dribble. I believe this is very significant for us as a community. And what I want you to do is when we end this...
Can the community speak more than you guys?
Well, let me continue to speak to you.
We're supposed to be here for you to hear us.
Can I speak to you?
Not for us to hear another speech from you. You're supposed to be listening to our questions.
I'm trying to explain more to you that once we finish this piece, where we're sitting up here, to actually have us go to, I believe, these tables out here, we're going to sit around the table and actually hear from our community.
Well, by then the media is gone. The news and everybody's gone. They don't see any of the questions that these people want answers to. They're not going to be at each of those individual tables.
Okay, thank you so very much. We know the process. Thank you. Next. Thank you.
I'm Carrie New. I attended the protest at Kellogg and Rock. I don't think that the officer that shot Mr. Randolph should have been sent to cover that protest. I do not want cops that are shooting our citizens covering our protests. I am grateful for the police presence. I've seen the death threats against us in the media. I appreciate the police presence, but please don't send him out to cover our protests. Mr. Randolph's family was emotionally distressed. You want empathy, you want compassion, show it. Please.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm here speaking on behalf of the felons out here. They go and do their time, get out, they get off paper, and they do the, but instead get harassed by the police officers. It's sad that all these people's here because somebody had to die. But you have prevention, because I know some of these people that came to your offices telling you about your officers, but nothing ever happens. I done been there a few times, NAACP, ACLU, and I still get hit by the police, 6 police cars every night up on me. Just got hit by 6 police cars. I'm scared for my life every time. And I have a record for that. Because I had, back in the day, an officer that used to sell us pistols. I got into it with him, and I killed him and took the rest of his guns. Yeah, that's what happens in the neighborhoods I live in. That's who gives us these things, these officers. That's who gives us the drugs, this and that. I've been through it all. Since I was 11, I done been through every penitentiary in America dang near, and I'm only 37. I done been there and done it. I done seen it all. But it takes somebody to die for this to happen. But I go and try to get the prevention, and I don't even get no prevention. And I done called everybody. You can ask my wife, but I done been everywhere. Nothing. But I get harassed by these police every day. What, you think you tough because you killed a cop? I didn't say nothing. I'm sitting in my car every time. And I'm getting tired of it. And I went to the courts yesterday and told them I'm getting tired. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being harassed by these police every time I did my time, man. I did my time. Let me live like a citizen. That's all I'm asking. Let me live like a citizen. What about your felons out here? That's all I'm asking. What about your felons? You got a policy on that? How many police cars does it take to pull over one man? How many police cars does it take? You can ask the people that was there. That's 6 police cars for one man for a taillight. Come on, man. 6 police cars? I'm supposed to be scared. It's 6 of them, and it's like 2 to each car. Am I not supposed to be scared? So now if they did something to me at that time, nothing. Because I went to the people and oh, he didn't just die, he got killed by an officer. But I came to you trying to prevent that, but I didn't get that help. What are we going to do about that? And I'm just not the only one. There's a lot of felons out there that's like that. That get done like that every day. When we go to these people, when we go to open doors, talk to these people, and nobody helps us. Nobody. Can't get no help. Can't get a job. Can't get nowhere. And I've been to every place, service you can go put a job in at. No, they ain't going to hire no murders around here. They don't hire no robbers around here. That's just reality. And I'm accepting that. I accept that reality. But dang, I don't have to be harassed every day. Every time I turn around, I can't go to my house. I can't live with my wife. Can't live over here. Can't live here. I live in the streets. Why? Because I'm scared to give up an address. I can't give up my name to people because I'm scared the police going to keep harassing me. Because why they hear that name, they're like, oh, he think he tough. I fought every police in the joint. They took me to the dungeons and sat there and fought me all that because why they think, hey, you think you tough because you shot a cop. No, I ain't never said nothing like that. I did my thing. I paid my dues. I'm just trying to live. I ain't never mentioned nobody, hey, I'm just some super tough guy, but that's how they come across to me every time they
sir, we thank you, but we have to let next person speak now.
Can we, the police officer, can we get an issue on that?
What's the question, sir?
About the felons. What's the policy behind it takes 6 police cars to pull over one person?
Okay.
Am I not supposed to be scared from that?
Well, I can't speak to the specific incident that you're talking about. Are you talking 6 cars every time?
Every time. I don't care. If my name gets ran, if I'm walking, they just run my name talking to me. Next thing you know, here come all these police cars. I'm like, what do we need all these police cars for? You just sitting here talking to me, asking if I know somebody. Oh, we just want to see what you do. I'm like, it takes 8 of you just to talk to me? I ain't got no gun on me, no knife, no nothing. Piece of bubble gum, nothing. But this is what I get every time.
Well, why don't you talk to me after? I don't know you're specific. I don't know you as well. Why don't you talk to me afterwards?
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Juanita Ridge, Justice Keepers of Kansas. I've heard the problems. I have the solutions, and nobody seems to be listening. I've been talking, and some of you already know, I've talked about a pilot program for felons to come back and clean up their own community. Who will hear me for that? A gang prevention program. We talk about 3,000 gang members. When are we going to talk about reducing the gang numbers? I'm talking about a gang court. Who will hear me for that? A gang prevention court. I'm talking about solutions. Will you help me? I don't want to leave here again. I've had people say, well, call me. I've emailed you. I've texted you. I've inboxed you. When are you going to return the call? I've got solutions. We got the problems. I got solutions. Juanita.
Thank you.
Can
Juanita.
I do want to share, Juanita, part of my role. I'm a servant of the Kansas Sentencing Commission, and one of our roles is dealing with specialized courts and the gang prevention court. I will be honest, it's something we have not studied, but creating more drug courts, we are studying to create more drug courts throughout the state. And the whole purpose of that is that when people have simple possessions, or when they have drug addictions, they don't get sent to jail, but they get sent to treatment. We're responsible for administering SB 23, which is the Senate bill for drug treatment. So all of those things are areas that we are actively working on as part of the Sentencing Commission. And I have to be honest with you, a lot of the things that we present, everything has to go to the legislature, and obviously, things get very partisan when they go to the legislature. But I do want you to know that there is a voice that's working on the state level, along with our representatives, on these very issues.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the drug courts. I am highly aware of the drug courts. What I'm talking about is gang prevention courts.
That's what I'm saying.
So
now,
that gang members who are having disputes can come before the court and mediate some of these issues so that we don't have that spill off in our communities and we don't have to continue to have dead bodies and people just being sitting, going to prison. That's the prevention part that he's talking about. And I hear the brother. I am trying to help solve some of these problems, but I can't get respectable, highly effective officers of the administration of justice to hear and adhere to what we're trying to do. And I've been out here a long time.
And what I'm
Positive
saying,
youth making a difference.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. And all I'm saying is, if you'll, that's part of my role. So I would love to hear from you. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to ask Misty to make her way up here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Damian Berry. I'm a youth pastor here in Wichita. My question is for the youth of this city. Obviously, we've seen from social media there's a distrust between the youth and police forces in America. And I was wondering what the Wichita Police Department is doing to let the youth in this city know that they are heard, that the Wichita Police Force hears their concerns and is there trying to make changes so that we can build that trust so that we can reconcile this gap that's between the police department and the youth. So is there anything set up like that?
Yes. I know I've attended many meetings with our youth as well and heard some of the things you're bringing up as well. But what our police officers do and members of the Wichita Police Department are they're very active in our community as well. They're mentors, they're coaches, they're out there in the community as well. So they've been involved with our youth as well in listening and have been a sounding board and bringing that back to our department as well. So what we're doing is, like I said, we need to have an open forum and continue. I've had an open invitation to any youth group or any citizens, and that's why I said this is not done. Like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And what we have been doing has been interacting with our youth. I know our community policing members do it quite frequently. So, but if there's other avenues you want to suggest, then bring that up as well with the organizational assessment or let me know as well.
Appreciate that comment, because as we continue to refine the community policing model going forward, that will be an important component. Thank you.
I'm gonna move the agenda, and I know that there are persons standing in line, and I promise you, as we move to the smaller groups, that you'll have an opportunity to share with the smaller groups, and I know that some of our city council persons are going to be roaming groups as well, so they'll be hearing directly from you. Okay. I want to introduce Misty Bruckner, who's going to kind of give us the process for moving forward now.
Really? No more questions? Really? Okay, I'm sorry, but we are the community. You are supposed to hear from us.
Let me.
Yeah, so can we at least let us?
We would like, please. The whole purpose of us moving into smaller groups is so that we can hear from as many people as possible.
Okay, but I want to address all of you up there, not just one person at the table. So I'm sorry that what we have to say is an inconvenience to you.
That is not the...
Okay, well then will you please hear us out, because we're taking the time to hear you out. Honestly. I mean, seriously. In fact, here, you know what?
Okay, let's just do this. I'm going to ask nobody else get in line, okay?
That's fine.
Let me finish. I'm going to ask that you please be respectful, that we really want to hear from everybody in here. So as we move through, so just please be respectful of the time so that we can get to the smaller groups. Thank you so very much. This is all right, gentleman right here.
Yes, I'm Ron Trowbridge. I just want to make this short. It was brought up earlier, but on the equipment, I have talked to some city council members in the past, and I've sent them some emails for global positioning darts from the police cruisers that are shot up there, and they stick to the cars, and they broadcast back to the officer right on his screen. There's no high-speed chase. There's no cruisers completely totaled out. There's no people blind or I saw many a case on TV where they paid for a high-speed chase the family thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm almost sure LA already has these. And you can have drone helicopters and all kinds of things where there is no high-speed chase, but you still get the criminal. And I'd like you to check in that, because I think, like the cameras, it will pay for itself. Thank you.
Okay. For the real officers who do put themselves on the line for us every single day and who do your job correctly, we do want to thank you with everything we have. We appreciate it. My name is Ty McEwen. I am not a senator. I'm not one of you guys. I'm a student at WSU in the Criminal Law Master's Department. First of all, when I look up there, I see 80% of this panel was black before the lady sat up there. So basically, this is what this is telling me, is that because we have an uprising in the black community, that is more or less, oh, well, let's get a couple of black men up here to rush them through this, and it's okay. Mayor, you yourself spoke of non-lethal weapons like batons and tasers. Well, last I knew, these are the same weapons that are killing us. When we get killed by a baton and nothing is done to the officer, I'm going to be honest, everybody, this goes beyond race. Our race is no more black and it's no more white. Police brutality is everywhere. And I'm going to tell you right now, you want to know what's really going on? Police is now the new superior race. That's it and that's all. It's the biggest militia, but you're not an organization, I wonder why. But you, the police officers, law enforcement officers, they are the new race. It doesn't matter if you're black, it doesn't matter if you're white, it matters if you're a cop or not. So while you sit here and rush us through this, Mayor, and Kevin, you was giving me the look while the man was giving, you might want to get back to your collection plate, because all of this that's going on is not doing anything to solucify the problem. 10 people killed. 50% of these people on the list was under the age of 28. And so you're trying to give solutions, but you're not giving any. You know, you're shooting people with knives who have a mental disorder. Okay, well, you know what? You got a database for people who rape and sexual predators. Why don't you have a database for people who's mentally ill, so that officers will know when they go to these people's houses what to expect? All I'm saying is, when officers break the law, since they are the law, there is no repercussions at all. You spoke of drug courts. Let's get this right. That's federal. Federal put that law in effect. You had to enforce it because you are state. But where do the law enforce them officers who claim to be the law? Who protects us from them? Who protects us from you? Because right about now, I'm scared to pull over from a police officer. I might get beat up for what I'm saying to you guys right now. And what are you going to do, Mayor? You're going to sit there and you're going to hold another press conference and you're going to go home sleeping good, because you know what? As far as you're concerned, your race is police officer. I'm sorry. And Kevin, you can look at me all you want to and you can give me that look, honey. But you know what? It's true. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Beverly Alfred Allen, and I am the mother of Icarus Samuel Randolph, who was killed. It happened before the Ferguson, with no disrespect to all the other killings. But I think my son, he was a Marine veteran who was struggling with PTSD. The war we are fighting now over in Iraq and Afghanistan, it is a spiritual warfare that is going on, that is being brought down here to the earthly realm. But my question is this. I had 3 daughters and 4 grandchildren standing out there when my son was shot down. And coming this Christmas Eve, my father was shot and killed in the front yard 57 years ago. Now we have Martin Luther King celebration and an anniversary and all of that every year, talking about the progress that's made, what has really been made here. What I want to hear is not just, we're going to give body cameras, but when is this senseless shooting and killing going to stop? Because if they want to kill you, it doesn't matter if they're on camera. Do they get mental health? Do you check out the officers for mental health conditions? Because something is going on. It's pretty crazy. There's been an upsurge on the killing nationally since my son was killed. He happened before Ferguson, and I think our city needs to recognize him. I would like him recognized nationally, too, with President Obama. He fought dutifully and proudly and served his country in Iraq. He come back and couldn't get no help. He wound up in jail. That's what they had for him. And the time he got off of papers, they came out and killed him. Now, something needs to be done. This doesn't need to keep happening. We have children coming up. Have you ever thought about how they're impacted? Because there was 7 children in my family when my father was shot and killed that Christmas Eve. And it had a tremendous negative impact on all of us. And now I had to see my grandchildren stand by and watch their best uncle that was like a father to them and a big brother go down like that. I mean, what do you plan to do for these future, the young generation? This is their future. And here it is Christmas time. The father up above, his son down here to die for us, that we might have peace and love, and that's what it was all about. And we need to get it right here in our own country, in the USA, America, while we are spreading our love abroad and telling everybody how you need to do it. We got to get it right, too. But before we can get this healing process done, you're going to have to allow us a chance to speak and say a little, too. We are in a small group. I am surprised to see that our community didn't come out as many as could have. We had a bigger turnout at East High. And this is going to concern us all one day. So I was just wondering, what do you do in the future about, are your officers checked for mental health issues too? Because they could be on the line out there and they may need help themselves. Because it's awful lot of killing and immoral, and it's very inhumane, and it needs to stop. We need to get it right as a country. So I'm just wondering, what do you plan to do in the future so any other family don't have to go through what we've gone through? I'm missing my son right now. He can't help me put up Christmas light. I got a double whammy. I'm missing my daddy too. And I need to know, what are you going to do in the future? The other families won't go through this, and my son's death will not be in vain. It's going to be to help someone else. And when our military people come back, they need to have special things, a special task force in order for them. If they're not hurt, physically, it could be a mental thing. And the officers need to be prepared and recognize that if they've been over there, you don't know what they've seen, what they've been through. And evidently, the things are not in place to help them, because we got a lot of people coming back with these issues mentally and internally. So,
thank you.
Did they check? Do I get any answers? Will the body cameras assure there would be no killings? I mean,
what you mentioned is I think what we all are recognizing is a nationwide issue. I mean, resources as well in our community for people that are suffering issues or have issues. Mental health issues. That's a big topic, as you said, nationwide, and we all have to face with. And you mentioned as far as the resources for individuals that do get out of the military or for the VA and things of that nature as well. So there's several components that are social and that are a bigger picture than just here. What we're trying to do with the Wichita Police Department, as I told you, is get the training for our officers and go out and be able to address the issues in our own community, and that's what we're working on.
But do they have mental evaluations for the officers? Do they have mental evaluations?
Yes, if there's issues, they are evaluated. Yes, we do.
Okay, what about the killing, when you do killing in front of children? How do you address that problem?
Yes, thank you so very much, Ms. Alford.
Next, sir. My name is Bob Golar, and I have a question, and I don't know, I just got to the meeting here. I had just got off of work. The question is this here. The policy that the Wichita Police Department has about not identifying cops that kill people goes back to a police chief, Rick Stone. We're going to hire a new police chief. Will we change the policy as far as if a cop kills somebody, a citizen of our community, why can't that cop be identified? If LA does it, New York does it with no problem, why can't we identify cops that kill people of our community? I don't think it's a fair policy for the families that are impacted, and we don't know if it's the same cop killing all these people or not. We never hear anything one way or the other. This is to the mayor or the city manager. Will the new police chief, will he go by the same old rule, or will we get new rules with the new chief, or will we change the policy? When will we change the policy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the comment. We're going to include that as part of the discussion of the organizational assessment. We have, to be honest with you, that wasn't discussed at East High before, and
nobody brought it up.
Right, but I'm making notes of today's meeting as well.
So
Next lady.
More than likely not. No change.
Say your name.
My name is Benita Chaplin.
We need time to.
And I commute back and forth to Topeka, so I wasn't able to come to the first meeting. But I'm going to ask you to at least give me 3 minutes. I have a question on transparency. I have a family member that was pulled over by a Wichita Police Department officer, and the situation went ugly. He went ahead and he made a report. It went to court. He beat the ticket. As soon as 2 days after he was pulled over, the police officer started driving up and down the street. So he took his phone and he took a picture of the police car. The police officer continued to stalk him. He went downtown, filed a complaint, and then all of a sudden, once it gets dark, the officer is cruising down, harassing. Now, had this family member not been a mature man, that could have turned crazy. I have a 9-year-old grandson. We sat across the dinner table before the 12-year-old was shot, and he said, "Granny, what's going to happen if I get shot by the police and die when I'm 13? I said, "Baby, that's not going to happen." But I can't guarantee him that. At 13, he should be planning to play Little League Baseball, not wondering whether he's going to die from a bullet. So I'm asking about the transparency when there is misconduct, because an investigation was lodged. So I applaud that, because it wasn't just ignored. But to the extent that this officer was brazen and coming up and down, back and forth down the street, almost taunting. He went over to the courthouse to try to get a restraining order, but was told he couldn't get one from a police officer. I said, everybody answers to somebody. Get back over at City Hall. But that's just one example. Had he been a 22-year-old with his pants sagging, it would not have played out that way. Policies has got to change, and the people have got to be heard. It's not just the panel. We're entitled to be heard.
Thank you. Sir,
yes, actually, my first question was, why was my microphone turned off when I asked the first question? And the second question was specifically to Mayor Brewer, if I could join you, I've got money and connections, can I join you on the next fishing trip?
Well, let me put it to you like this. If you pay your way like I do, then I'm sure you probably can.
Yes, sir.
I guess he didn't have the money.
Yes, my name is M.D. Fisher. I'm a citizen of Wichita, Kansas. My question has to do with 2 questions that were before. First, the state representative asked about hiring policies of trying to equalize the citizen base with the police department. This gentleman that was sitting here talked about police being a hard job, which is true. I'm sure there's not too many people in here that would take on the police job. But my question is to do with bullying. There's a lot of bullying going on in our society today. Almost every time you turn on the news, there's a report on bullying in school. So how much background do you do on police officers that are applying to do a job? Because they were bullied in high school. That just don't disappear. So if they were bullied constantly by minorities in high school, then they get a badge. Now it's payback time. And that's something that maybe needs to be looked at. How much background check do you do on officers? Were they bullied in school? Because if they were bullied in school, they probably don't suit the criteria of being a police officer.
So let's let the mayor, the chief, answer that question.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go down. Then we'll be down to that last two persons. Thank you.
We do a pretty thorough process. I mean, we do go back and, as you said, with the high school, get the records. But the challenge is schools don't put bullying in their records for us to do a background check. That doesn't come up. The issue is grades come up, maybe some of their demeanor stuff, but we don't get a category of bullying. And I'm with you, if that was there, that's a valuable piece. We also go back and do personal checks and get information from references or even the schools and talk to them as history of this person. So we do a pretty thorough background, but on bullying specifically, that's not a category that I'd love to get it. I mean, if they had kept record of it, and that'd be a good piece of information.
That'd be a nice research to find out.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure when you get an officer that was bullied by a minority, and he gets stationed in a minority area, you know, he don't have the compassion of the same people that used to bully him all the time.
And unfortunately, unless it rose to the level of a police case being made or some other record, we wouldn't have it with the school. Now, on the recruiting side or hiring, we're, like I said before, we want to hire. And you just mentioned that not everybody wants to be a police officer. It is a challenging time right now for us to even fill a police recruit class right now. That's why I said we need your help in getting good qualified candidates for your department. But we can't even fill a class right now, and when we have open positions. So it's a challenge.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Sir?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, I was going to say, you know, he brought up some very valid points in reference to the officers. And I think one of the things that we need to, you know, what process do we actually have? And the process for the police department, and certainly at some point in time, I think it should be published. To be on the police department, the city of Wichita has a very extensive process to include psychologicals and things of that nature that they actually use. And it's difficult, and I know that they get a large number of individuals, because I've talked with them about their actual process, and that in some cases I thought was probably too strict. But I think that that's something that we should publish and we should disclose what this complete process is for individuals. Now, certainly, after you get a chance to look at it, then we probably would think, many of us, like, well, I couldn't even pass this particular portion. But what we're trying to do is we try to figure out, what we can actually do to be able to improve it. And I know the chief is working on that currently. But one of the things we will do, and I'll certainly with the manager and the chief and our HR director, is disclose that information so everyone can get an opportunity to see what that complete process is and what does it look like step by step. But you have a very valid point.
Sir?
Hi.
Your name?
My name is Greg Daly. I'm sorry. I was cuffed, and then I was tased, and then they tased me again, and then they beat a club out me, and I was in a coma for 3 months, period. And I couldn't talk. My rim pipe was like this, and I couldn't talk. And then all of a sudden,
it was, they shipping around. It was 10, 15, 16, 17 cops. Period. I was cuffing everything. Anyway, all of a sudden, I go to Lorna. Lorna was trying to tase me like this with the shackles. Now check this out. And then I got Solazine so I couldn't talk. Period. And I can't say nothing. It was a long time. Now I can talk, I can see, I can hear, I can speak, and I can understand everything. Everything. But it was a long time back, you know. It was 4 years, almost 5 years, before I could even really remember all that stuff. But it was Dirty Harry.
Yep. Still on the force.
And the other name, but I can't say it, his name is, he's Dirty Harry's like this, and he is 6 foot. But I can't say it. Until I can really talk. But I can't say it. He's 100, 200, 309 pounds. It's not Dirty Harry. He do not like black people at all. Period. And I mean that. And even I was still hold tight. I couldn't say nothing until my turn, you know. So, what we gonna see?
When is he gonna retire?
When's he gonna be fired? Right. Fired.
Fire or retire?
Man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So I think his question was, why is that officer still an officer? I think his question was, why are these officers that are perpetrating these acts still working as police officers? So I would like you to answer his question before I ask mine.
Dirty cops. It was dirty cops. It was dirty cops. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cops. Dirty cops. I mean really dirty. Because I was cuffed. And then after that, I would sit down and he said, what his name is anyway, he said, stand up. I stand up. And he said, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna go and tase you. I'm already cuffed. They tased me. And then they tased me again. And then the billy club. Yeah. Until a light. And my head was so big that I couldn't talk. And my head was real big. It was like a dream. Period. I mean, man, but it's real.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rush you, but I want to try to answer that question.
I don't know the details. I'm hearing what you're stating has occurred and everything, but did you report that to us, or was that turned in, or did we look at that?
Dirty Harry and that other thing, they is 2 dirty cops, but I can't say that other name is not. But I know it's 100, 200, 307 pounds, and he do not like black people at all. Period.
All right, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah. All right.
Hello. Okay, my name is Darrell. So the question is, number one, how we talk about training. We keep hearing training these officers. How do you move, if that is in the culture of our police department, then how do you see, you said train the trainers, how do you see other officers with that culture coming in and training other officers in the police department about community policing and about crisis intervention? Second question. Also, to that question, point A to that question is there are professionals in these colleges and in our community who could co-facilitate, if anything, those trainings. So why are you not open to that? Second question, you talked about the funding. I read in the newspaper $557 million some dollars appropriated for the police department. In one of these groups that we're about to have, I heard that there was $80 million more dollars that the police department had. So we talk about money, it's there. And you keep playing this game with, well, we don't know where we're going to get the funds for to do this stuff. The money is there. So just do it. Put cameras on the cops, train every cop in community policing. We don't need teams. We need every single police officer trained in community policing. That even shouldn't be a part of a training. You should know the person or the people in the community that you are policing. You should know my name. When you know my name, you're not going to shoot me down in front of my family. When you know my family and my mother, you're not going to do that. And every single officer should be trained in crisis intervention training. So again, my question is, are you open to allowing civilians who have the capacity to train people in mental health to co-facilitate or to facilitate those trainings? And two, why you keep playing with the money? You got the money, spend it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll let the chief answer that, and then we have one more, our last question here with DeJuan.
Well, as far as the training, we have had civilians in our classroom co-train with us on the topic of fair and impartial policing. We've done that. We are open to continue that and have members in our training academy or come to our department to train our officers. I think that's what I've talked about being transparent and community policing. That's what it's about. Now, if there's money out there, I'd like you to show me where that is. We have constantly looked for money or funding sources to continue to improve our relationships with the community. So if there's money, we continually look at it. But at times when there's federal money or different money out there, there's terms or matching funds and other obligations as well. But we'll continue to look for resources to train our officers.
Okay, this is our last person, and we'll go into small groups.
My name is DeJuan Wash. The Wichita Police Department is part of our community. We aren't here to beg, but to demand partnership in how our communities are being policed. Racial profiling is a problem, despite a large black leadership presence in our city. There is a culture that exists within the department with some officers, and black and brown people are tired of being looked upon and profiled as criminals. We need an independent review board with subpoena power, department-wide crisis intervention training, transparency and accountability of officers holding those responsible for bad shootings and use of force complaints. We need officers who understand the communities they work in. There have been 4 studies in the state of Kansas that have documented racial profiling. What steps are being taken to address racial profiling and to stop the systematic criminalizing of people of color?
As I said, with the organizational assessment, you'll have further opportunity to have input as far as what you just said and putting into the assessment and the future of this department. But what we've done is I just laid out some of the training we're bringing, and I know that's been a topic as well, but bringing fair and impartial training for our department. And then it also has to have that accountability piece on action by our members as well and holding them accountable. I think in the organizational assessment, we're looking at a review board. If that's not necessarily agreement with the Wichita Police Department's findings as far as an investigation, that board would look at it as well. So accountability piece has to be built in. But next year, we're committed to bringing that training for all of our members, that awareness training, and keep that going. I totally agree with you. I mean, this is something we've looked at and we're serious about in bringing for our department. So 2015 is, and we need time to get there, but we're working to get there.